Hi there, I hope you have been doing well. I wanted to mention that I have a new sculpting course coming out soon, and you can find the link for that in the description to sign up for my website. And as far as the mini course goes, I will be hosting it completely on my website. There's no waiting period. I'll probably get to that in the next week. But as far as pushing it out on YouTube, it'll probably come out one video a week. So if that is of interest and you don't want to wait, then definitely sign up for my website. Otherwise, I want to apologize for the sound quality of the mini course. I was on the go, so I didn't have my microphone with me. I had my Apple EarPod things, and they're super old. So, yeah. Anyway, we'll see you sometime in the future, and I hope you enjoy the mini course.
All right, welcome to the first lesson of working on the Onchopristis. And to go ahead and just start things off, let's just go ahead and delete everything in the scene. We're going to hop into our right perspective, and we're going to go ahead and add in our reference image that you will find in the blueprints folder. So the Onchopristis folder, and go ahead and navigate to blueprints. Now let's just go ahead and open this size guide, and we're going to align to view. All right, so one thing you want to check is your scene properties, and go ahead and open your units and make sure you're working in metric. That's what we are going to base our scale off of. And you can see, go into item, there's no real dimensions on this. So what we're going to need to do is just go ahead and get our ruler tab. So you get this measure button here, and we're just going to go somewhere in the middle. We'll just say right about here, and holding Y, we're going to scale up to 8 meters. Go ahead and let go if you need to. So G and Y. So we'll go somewhere about here. It doesn't need to be completely accurate. So now what I'm going to do is actually select our reference image. I'm going to go into the data properties, and I'm going to turn on opacity so that way it's not completely impeding on our vision. So I'm going to set the depth to back, and I'm going to change the side to front. All right, so I'm going to rename this to side, and I'm going to pull up the filter tab and toggle selectable, and we'll go ahead and disable this in a second. All right, so let's go ahead and get our measure button re-enabled so that way you can see where you have drawn your line. And what I want to do now is just go ahead and right click right at the kind of end point of one of these measure toggles. And what I'm going to do is just go ahead and hit GY on our image, just kind of moving the positioning of the image to where we're working with the side silhouette here. And I'm just going to kind of position that in the center a little bit. So kind of centering half of the Onchopristis. Once it looks like it's relatively centered, we're going to go ahead and change our pivot point to 3D cursor. And now it's going to scale from our 3D cursor. So we're going to scale all the way back until we hit the other point of the measure button. So maybe right about there. All right, so now we have our image scaled to be 8 meters. We can go ahead and go back to our select box. And let's go ahead and move our 3D cursor back to the world origin. And what we're going to do is just go ahead and reposition this to where it's somewhere in centered. Doesn't need to be 100% in the center, but hopefully you get the idea. All right, so we don't need to apply scale because we are just using this as a reference image. You can if you'd like, if it gives you your mind a sense of ease, but it is not necessary. All right, so since we have this image scaled the way we need it, we're going to go ahead and do a Shift D to duplicate this. And let's rename this to top. Go ahead and get your rotate tool rotate on the Y by 90. Let's do a negative. All right, so let's hop into our top perspective. Let's do a G and Y, or X rather. And again, let's go ahead and position this relatively in the center. And we used the kind of saw as our center point. So let's go ahead and do that with the top. Okay, so we have something like this now, which is perfect. And what I think I'll do is I'll just go ahead and do a G, Z, and just move this down. So again, we have our top perspective, and now we have our side perspective. So now with our filter enabled, our selectable, let's just go ahead and toggle these off so that way we don't mess up these references by clicking on them by accidentally. And I'm going to rename this collection to references. All right, so now we can go ahead and just collapse that, and I'm going to create a new collection. And I already had this pre-copied, but you're going to want to call it Onchopristis. And so now we can actually begin.